Okay, well, let's begin. Thank you all for joining us to the second of these forums. We had a great one on Monday night. That one was recorded. This one is being recorded, and we will send out links to everyone tomorrow. So if you want to look at any of it again, or someone else in your family wasn't able to be part of this and wants to, then you'll be able to view it, but do know it is being recorded. So the logistics of this evening, I'm going to start off doing an overview of things. That's probably about 10 minutes, I guess. And then we will open it up for questions. If you want to ask a question, please just use the chat function down at the bottom of your screen. And we will just answer those as they come. If there end up being a number of questions at once, kind of faster than I or others can keep up with, I've asked Radha Starkey, who's our Director of Advancement, to keep an eye on the questions, and then she can kind of feed them and say, for example, a number of people are asking about this thing or the other. On Monday, in the end, the pace of the questions matched pretty well the pace of the answers, so we didn't need to do that, but we will do that. I will keep this to an hour. That's more than enough time to be on a Zoom thing. And also it's, we'll be getting late into the evening. If you have a question that we didn't get to, or you think of one later, please just reach out to me directly. And then the last thing before we start, there may be some questions which I will ask our nurse, Nikki Jaffrey. Nikki, if you want to wave over there. And to answer, I'll just pass them over to her. And there may be other questions which I will pass to David Stearns, who's our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dean of Curriculum and Instruction. And if there are other ones that someone from the school is particularly suited to answer, I will pass on to those people. There we go. All right, I am mastering all this stuff. So our health and safety guidelines are really built around the three aspects that medical science says are the most important ones for reducing the risk of transmission of the virus. And our goal is to have a campus set up and protocols that minimizes that risk as much as possible. We know we can't control people's behaviors off our campus, and frankly, I have no great desire to do that. We are trusting that all our community members will be doing the things that help to minimize the risk, but our focus is on our campus and what we can do to keep that minimal, and that's built around the three most important things. One is wearing face masks. So all students, all adults, all visitors on campus must wear a face mask. It has to meet the CDC guidelines of being at least 2 layers of cloth or a commercially produced one, not having vents. And this is really an absolute requirement. So if there's a student who finds wearing a mask just too uncomfortable, or if there's a family who says, I don't want my child to wear a mask, then we have a good remote education option for them to do their classes from home. But it really is something that's not negotiable. Secondly, the guidelines say that students should be at least 3 feet apart from each other, and 6 is better. So do that as often as you can. And adults have to always be at least 6 feet apart from anyone. And so our campus, I'll show you some photos later, but it's set up in, so that we can maintain that. And like I said, I'll show you a few pictures of our preparations, which are not complete, but we're in good shape. And then lastly, the washing of hands is very important. And so we have, are setting up multiple places on campus where students can wash and disinfect their hands. They do have to do it when they arrive to campus, as well as all the other times that you would expect, like before, after using the restroom, before and after eating, and other times. We will be training our students on all these things in the first days that they are here, so that they really understand both the importance and proper ways to wear a mask and wash their hands, etc. So here's a typical classroom. You can see we've removed most of the chairs, or I should say half the chairs, so that they can be 6 feet apart. We have obtained barriers between to put between students in places where there are not individual desks. This is a science lab. It's a little hard to see, but the plexiglass extends about twice as high as the wooden frame there. This is Debbie's reception desk, which also obviously has a nice big plexiglass screen. And here you see, oh, these are all for teacher desks, and there's also a version for individual students in places where we need those. Here's Mr. Rolfe and Mr. Schildroff, who were helping us this morning assembling all these barriers. There's more to do, and they'll be back tomorrow. Then today we had a group of students on our student council coming, helping us to mark our hallways and stairs, etc. So we'll have one-way lanes, and we'll also have markings on the floor indicating what 6 feet is. So here's just some examples of things that that the students were doing this morning to set up our campus to help with the physical distancing. And so these are not in the rooms yet, but we have them all. We have exhaust fans for every room. We have HEPA filter air purifiers that will go in every room as well. Whoops. All right, now can I do this? There we go. And again, this is just an example of some of the hand sanitizing stations that we will be putting around the campus. So in addition to those three main things, we are enhancing our cleaning protocols so that high-touch areas, bathrooms, and other places will be cleaned multiple times a day, and rather than what we used to do is in the afternoon and overnight. So we're increasing all our cleaning, and desks and any shared classroom materials will be disinfected multiple times anytime a different student might use them. Another requirement is that anyone who comes to campus, so our faculty and staff as well as our students, have to do a daily check and certify that they have no symptoms of COVID-19 and that they have, excuse me, don't have any other risk factor such as traveling out of state or having been in close proximity with someone who does have the virus. We will be doing this through a smartphone app, and you'll be getting information about that. The app is free for families, and you will just go down a checklist and say no to all the questions. If any of the answers are yes, you'll get a message that says don't come to school, but call the school. And we will also get that information, one, so that we know everyone did it, because you can't come to campus without a pre-screening, and know to contact anyone who had some answer that that flagged they shouldn't come to campus. Again, that info is coming on how to do that. So we are still waiting on some more specific guidelines. So I'm afraid this is somewhat general about how to respond to a confirmed case of COVID-19 in our community. But in general, we will follow exactly what the CDC tells us. So if we have a suspected case, for example, someone's pre-screening says they have a temperature and a cough, or someone comes down with symptoms during the day, we would immediately contact the CDC to let them know, and they will tell us next steps. If a student or an adult has symptoms during the day, then we have an isolation room where they will go until they can leave campus. Because we now have a good way for students to do their learning completely remotely, and we have some students whose families are choosing that. A student who is otherwise well but needs to be home for whatever period of time will continue their classes that way. And any rooms that students were in or the adults will be cleaned and disinfected before anybody else can get in them. And people will be allowed to come back to campus only when medically cleared, and that would be done through their personal physician and our nurse. So here's the academic schedule for our hybrid system. We split the student body into 2 groups because that was the only way that we could maintain the proper physical distancing. I'll talk a little bit more about the beginning and the end of the day, so I'll go through it more quickly here. But starting at 7:45, students can go to their first period. They'll have their first period class. In the block schedule, those are longer. Then we'll have an advisory period each day that students are on campus. Then second period. Then during lunch, during period 3, you'll see that's 30 minutes longer, and that's when we'll be doing lunch in the classroom. So I'll talk a bit more about how that will work in a moment. And then period 4, and then the school day is done. So this is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Group A students will be on campus Monday and Tuesday, and Group B students will be on campus Thursday and Friday. So the days you're on campus, that's when you're getting your in-person instruction, and the days when you're not, you'll be working on the work your teacher has given you. And there may also be some online assignments and things that classes will be doing even though they are remote. On Wednesday, all classes are remote. There's a couple of reasons for doing this. One is it gives us a day in the middle of the week to do a good deep cleaning of the campus before we switch to the second group. It also means that all students in period 1, so both Group A and Group B, will have class together online with their teacher. So once a week, they'll all be together. It gives us a chance to do more of our normal advisory things and or have some kind of an assembly. I'm still figuring out exactly how to do some of the community things on Wednesdays. You'll see the periods are a little shorter. That's for 2 reasons. One is 80 minutes on Zoom is not going to be productive for anybody. It also enables us to have scheduled teacher office hours every Wednesday for our students who are completely remote, but also any student could have an appointment with their teacher at that time. So the beginning of the school day, I'll emphasize again, no one can come on campus and enter the buildings without having done the pre-screening. Our first bus usually arrives about 7:15, and at that point we'll open the buildings. Before that, they will not be open. And any students who are here between 7:15 and 7:45 will go to the gym and be there. We'll have the bleachers marked so that they have proper spacing. Students will enter campus by grade level. This enables us to reduce the backup at doors, because remember, every student's going to need to be disinfecting their hands when they come in. So each of the entrances will have 2 disinfecting stations so they can come in efficiently. 12th graders will come in through the door by the gym, 11th graders through the chute, 10th graders through the academy building, the old front entrance through the pillars there, and 9th graders will come in through the cafeteria, the door nearest, farthest from the kitchen, the double doors down there. At 7:45, students in the gym can go to their first period, and students who come on campus should go there directly. 11th and 12th graders who have a free period, first period, do not need to come to campus at 8 o'clock. This is intended to help reduce the numbers of students on campus. They do need to be here for advisory. That is required. So that's when they would need to come to campus. And we'll be off and running. At the end of the day, same thing for 11th and 12th graders. If they don't have a 4th period, they may leave at the end of 3rd period. We'll have a system for signing in and signing out. And in the past, students have been able to hang out a bit after school, and I'll be honest, I have liked that because it means they feel safe and welcome and they like to be here, but we can no longer do that. So at 2:30, the only students who will be on campus are ones who are with a particular teacher for a particular reason. So students will not be able to hang out after school in the school buildings. All right, I muted myself by accident somehow. I did that Monday too, I'm not quite sure. Lunch will be in the classrooms during period 3. So there's an extra 30 minutes. Our kitchen staff will bring it to the rooms and students will be able to get their lunch. Students can order from our food services. There's not any walk-in lunch service in the cafeteria because we can't do that and keep social distancing. Students may, of course, bring their own lunch. However, in a change from other years, students will not be able to go to Maryland Hinckley to get their lunch from there. Just given our schedule, the way it works, my conversations with John Bannister, there's just not a way for that to happen. We also, you may have noticed, do not have a break in the morning as in the past. So we will now allow students to bring food for snacks to eat during the day in their classrooms. When that happens will be at the discretion of their teachers, and we'll have to follow the same protocols for as eating lunch, which is have to be 6 feet apart. It's the only time they can remove a mask is to eat or have a drink. We will take advantage of our campus and as often as possible eat outside, as well as classes will much more frequently go outside, and teachers will be able to take their classes outside for a little break, take off masks, really at any point that they need to. I have found the more I've worn a mask, now on campus we wear them all the time. I have gotten much more used to it. It's definitely hard at the start, and still, I don't know if there's many people who could wear one 6.5 hours straight. So I have told teachers that anytime they feel there's students need a break, that they can go outside. And we'll pick up the extra trash and all. Guidelines do not permit students drinking from water fountains, so we have disabled them. However, the ability to fill your water bottle at water fountains is still there, and students should bring a couple of full water bottles each day so that they have water. We will have some extra ones, but we can't provide water to every student every day. And here's our opening schedule. So the first week or so, classes, students will come by their grade. So they will be with their entire grade for their first day, and that will be a day to learn about our procedures and protocols, for them to gain some facility and learn about how to use Canvas, our online learning management system and platform. And also we'll split them so that they can spend some time with each of their teachers. And you'll notice that the 9th graders have 2 such days, since we do think that for them, you know, they're starting high school, there's just more to get oriented towards. So they have 2, their first on the 4th and their second on the 11th. And then Monday the 14th, we start our hybrid model. Although, as I said, the previous week, students will spend time with their teachers, and so can get going on classes for a little bit. I know that you can read the questions also, so I'll read them quickly, but that's mostly because I'm reading them at the same time as you are seeing them. Can you clarify about the distance teachers need to stay from students? How will instructional supports work at a 6-foot distance? So in general, teachers should be 6 feet from students. Students who need extra help, it is possible for, relatively speaking, brief times, teacher who's wearing a face shield and a mask to be closer to a student, and all IEP and 504 guidelines and accommodations recommendations, we will be meeting all of those through our resource room and other ways. So yes, it's going to be tricky, honestly, but we do know that successful instruction requires some one-on-one work. Any decision made about fall sports? No decisions have been made about fall sports. I'm expecting an announcement from the MPA tomorrow. And I am not a gambling man, so I'm not going to predict what that's going to be. What time should students arrive on orientation days? So thank you, that's a great question. Those days will start at 8 o'clock, sort of a normal school day, 8 to 2:30. Buses will be running for those who need buses. I will be sending out more information. There's some protocols for buses that will be important for families to know, for students who are doing that, because it applies to not everyone. You will get communications about that sometime in the next few days. So here's another question about sports. If all-day students are distancing, are they actually going to play contact sports and then come to classes the next day? So again, what will happen for interscholastic sports, I don't know yet. But as I said, we are not trying to create isolated pods and bubbles because we can't, because there's the rest of our students' lives. So we know that students in Group A are going to see students from Group B after school in the evenings and on weekends. So our breaking into groups was really so that we could meet the physical distancing guidelines, as opposed to trying to create bubbles, because it's not possible. So next question. Will the cohort stay throughout the whole year? Yes, as long as we are in hybrid learning, they will stay as they are. How will you enforce distancing with students who haven't seen each other in possibly 6 months and will tend to want to hug, et cetera? That, again, is a very good question. Frankly, I know it's going to be hard. I know the first few days, first few weeks, we're going to need to do a lot of reminding of students. I also, though, believe students will work hard to honor this, because, as we will explain, the only way that we can have in-person school is if everyone follows the guidelines. So there's a lot of motivation to them to follow what we are asking them. But I do know that it will be difficult. If we have a student, it's one thing to slip up or make a mistake and just say, hey, Tim, you need to maintain distance. But if there's a student who consistently cannot adhere to what we require, then we will say to them, you need to study remotely, because we do need people to do these things. I do believe most students will honor them. I really do, because they have a high motivation, which is, this is how we can have school together. Are students able to fill out the health app, or do we want parents to do that? You know what, I'm actually going to turn that over to Nikki to make sure I don't answer that incorrectly. So Nikki, if you want to weigh in on that, please.
Excuse me. I think it's important for the parents to do it with the student.
Okay, thank you. You will, and again, Nikki, if I misspeak, correct me, but I'm pretty sure that app will send a reminder to do it, and then it's very straightforward. A number of questions, and you just select yes or no, and then it will, again, give you some message if there's a reason to not come in, and it will send to us the fact that you did it, and also if there was a problem. So the next question is about before 7:15. We will open the school when the first bus arrives. So if it does come before 7:15, then yes, we will open the school so they can come in. Is there a set time schedule for online classes when not in person? And I'm going to let Mr. Stearns, who's led a lot of the academic work with, we had a group of 15 people, faculty members, administrative people, staff members. We had a parent on this working over the summer on all these guidelines. We've also brought students in to help us think about how to work with their peers. But David, you want to answer that question, please?
Sure. So teachers are going to use the bell schedule, not necessarily all the time, but can use the bell schedule and will be encouraged to often use the bell schedule to set work for remote students, not only fully remote students, but students whose cohort isn't on campus at a given time. So, for example, in my history class, maybe for the kids who are remote on Thursday, I will have them do a discussion group with Canvas where I might have assigned them something to read. And then this cohort A group on Thursday, when they're at home, I might have them during the class time do a Canvas discussion group where they get together with the other 8 or 10 kids who are not in school that day in my class, and they will have an online discussion through Canvas of the reading that they set. So I might require them to do that. The discussion will have to take place during class time, and their job is to be there during class time. And so that I won't, I nor other teachers wouldn't do that every single day, but frequently enough to build in the kids a sense that school time is school time. And I would also give them flexibility to do homework and some of the work at their own sort of schedule, but they should be seeing school time as school time. That would be also true for students who are fully remote. And I think, this is something we learned from last spring, that, the kids in classes remotely can't be hyper scheduled because they can't be online all the time from 8 to 2:30, because they have other things to do at home occasionally, because there are clashes at home with family use of the internet. But that if you have kids taking classes that are completely unscheduled, where they can just do their work whenever they want to, first of all, it's hard to get them interacting with each other and with the teacher because everybody's off on their own schedule. And second, that accelerates a tendency to, have school between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. and sleep all day. And that doesn't help really make things effective. So the goal is that there will be more scheduling than last spring, because we've got time to organize it, because families have time to organize it. But no, even the remote students aren't going to be sort of locked into on-camera activities from 8 to 2:30 every day.
Yeah. Thank you. The one exception is on Wednesdays, when those will be scheduled classes for everyone, whether you are 100% remote or you're in one of the two groups. There's a question about the bus. So again, more info will come on this. Students who ride the bus will actually have I'm going to call it a ticket. That's not the right word, but essentially will be something that they can show to the bus driver saying, yes, I did my pre-screening. They won't be part of our system of using the app, so we need another one so they can get on the bus. And as I said, I will be sending out information about how that works. I'm still, frankly, we're just coordinating with Union 93 and Union 76, so we make sure that we do it the same way as they will. So more info on that will be coming. So discuss a bit more about unmasked snack and lunch times. So yes, lunches will be outside as much as possible. Snack time is not a set time. It's quite possible that every teacher will say, we can have a little snack. Let's go outside. We'll take a mask break and have a snack. So that will be staggered in the sense that it is not scheduled when a teacher either takes students outside, or if the weather's not good, say we'll do it in class. If a student tries in-person learning and finds it uncomfortable, how do they switch to all remote learning? So this is possible at any time. In a general sense, switching at the quarters is probably best, but there may be other reasons to say I need to make a switch, either from full remote to coming on campus, or from being on campus to fully remote. And really the way that works is you let David Stearns know we'd like to make this change, and he works his magic and because those students are still taking the classes, because they're still meeting on Wednesdays, going from full remote to on campus should be relatively speaking smooth. Likewise, students have been on campus, have been having 2 days a week when they've been doing it off campus. So again, I think the transition will be not as abrupt as it would have been in the past to go from school every single day to doing it off campus.
Tim, should I mention briefly what Liffey's going to send out?
Yes, you should.
So, as Tim said, any student who is interested in, who is planning to do remote learning now or later should contact me. Their family should contact me. I've sent out to the families who have contacted me already a description of how it's going to work, how remote learning would work. But of course, families who haven't contacted me don't know that, and that's why we're getting these questions tonight. But Liffey Thorpe has taken my communication last week to the remote families, and it's going to be sent out later
Tomorrow.
this week, soon tomorrow. It's going to be sent out tomorrow to all parents, and that will tell them how remote learning will work. So parents who haven't identified yet as ones whose family might want to do remote learning will know how it will work. And that communication, for example, will say, it would work best to do it at the beginning and end of a quarter, but anytime a family needs to make a transition, they can do that. So you'll get quite a few answers tomorrow in that mailing about remote learning options.
Thank you. Question about requirements for the mask regarding prints, writing, etc. So yes, essentially the mask is now part of our dress code. So we had requirements about all those things for t-shirts and other stuff. So yes, those will still be in effect. I love creativity. I hope that our students have all sorts of fun and creative and brightly colored masks, but they do have to meet our standards for what is on them. Nikki, I'm going to give you the next one. If a student tests positive, is it conceivable that all students in their 4 classes might have to quarantine?
So the short answer for that is yes, but we still have more information coming from the main DOE and the CDC on what we do when it comes to positive cases in our school. If we have a positive case in our school right now, the only thing I know is that I have to call the DOE and the CDC, and they will guide me from there. So yes, there is a possibility that all 4 classes would have to quarantine.
Right. And again, we'll have more guidance about next steps. All right, we're a little lull. So once again, Kristen, I'll ask you if you, Kristen LaPlante, who is our food services director, want to share anything about how lunch will work and what your wonderful staff is cooking up, so to speak.
Sure. So we're recognizing that students may feel like they've got a lack of choices while we're going through this, and certainly our goal as a team is to provide them with as many good choices as possible for lunch. If kids are planning on buying lunch at school, there'll always be an option, a meat option, a vegetarian option, and some sort of salad option. And we are going to get input from the students. Most of my menus are usually driven by the students. They usually actually choose the menus. So I'll find out a way, I'm going to figure out a way to either have a Zoom meeting with students to talk about menus and menu ideas so they feel like they get a little bit of that control back. But giving them as much choice as possible is our goal. And if anybody has any questions, feel free.
Great, great, thank you.
So you want me to do that, Tim?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And as long as the student's account is in good standing at the beginning of the year, there's no problem. We did send a mailing about charge accounts and the like, but yeah, there's no problem. Students will also be able to do that.
As I said, other than the fact that everything's changed and you're not going to the cafeteria, the lunch will work the same. And the other big change is that Maryland Hinckley is no longer an option during the school day. So honestly, we're not sure. Will that mean we'll have more students ordering lunch? Because that's not an option. It's also possible more students will choose to bring their lunches. So we'll figure it out as we go, but we will have good options for that. So are you avoiding large numbers in the bathroom? So yes, for our communal bathrooms, only 2 students will be allowed in at one time. The way they are set up, the sinks and the toilets are, even in the communal ones, are individual. And as long as there's not more than 2 students in there, they can meet the distancing guidelines. These are all things we'll be going over with students, and we'll have signs, et cetera. Yes, Nikki, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, we're going to have some signs on the door too.
Right. I fully expect and know that, all these things, that's part of the reason for bringing the students back by their grade. One important one is so they can have a day when they're there with their entire grade. But another is to give us time to go over all these things, for us to practice them with even a smaller number of students, essentially a quarter of the student body rather than half. And it will take some time for students to get used to what we need. And frankly, it gives us a chance to evaluate, are these the right procedures and protocols? Do we need to modify them? So we will be monitoring our own success at meeting what we said. And if for any reason we think we need to adjust something, we will adjust something. Here's another lunch question, Kristen. So if you want to answer that about the lunch menu.
Sure. So the lunch menus are posted in the weekly bulletin that goes out to all the parents, and lunch menus are posted the week before, a week in advance.
Great. Thank you. And I think we were saying, yes, Kristen, that if you're in Group A, you can order on Monday for both Monday and Tuesday, and Group B would be for Thursday and Friday.
Correct.
Tim, I've got a question from somebody in the group. Let me find it here. Will you check mask requirements each day and not let thin scarves and bandanas be worn?
Yes. We'll be going over with students again that the only masks that are allowed are cloth masks. They can be homemade. They have to have at least 2 layers, or there's various commercially produced ones that meet the guidelines. The most important piece of which is they can't have vents, since that kind of defeats the purpose of the mask. But bandanas, handkerchiefs, pulling my turtleneck up, and at this point, neck gaiters are not meeting the guidelines. So there's a good example. If at some point the CDC says neck gaiters are acceptable or of a certain type, then we will modify. But right now, that's not the case. Nikki, do you want to add anything to that about masks?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we got a huge stockpile from the state. So we actually are able to give each of our students 2 cloth masks at the beginning of the school year. So we'll probably be giving those to the kids the first day they're here in advisory, along with their COVID training, which is a computerized program. They all sit down, they do it, and it audits them so we know that they've done it. So yeah, they'll be getting 2 masks at the beginning of the year.
Great.
And I'll have extras in my office, but I'm hoping that the kids won't need them because they're going to have a mask to get on the bus anyways, so.
Right. Kristen, there's another lunch question.
Well, I'm not surprised. Lunch is important.
Lunch is very important.
Pre-ordering lunches, Group A will order their lunches for Monday and Tuesday on Monday, but if a student is absent on Monday, they can easily order it on Tuesday morning. So parents don't need to pre-order. We'll have the students fill that out in advisory, and Group B will order their Wednesday and Thursday lunches on Wednesday. But if a student isn't there on Wednesday and they come in Thursday, Friday, sorry. If a student is absent on Thursday and comes to school and needs a lunch on Friday, no problem. Not a problem. But parents don't have to pre-order anything.
Right. Also, to follow up on what Nikki said, even students who are 100% remote, they will need to do the online training piece. We'll get them that information so that they both understand the things that we're doing, and if they have occasion to come to campus or they decide they want to be in person, they will have done that.
Can I add something, Tim?
Yeah, please.
So one of the questions for the symptom screening in the morning is going to be about temperature. So I've actually ordered about 40 thermometers for families that may not have one. So if you need one, you can email me and we can send that home with your student the first day of school.
Great, thank you. David, can you take this next question about setting up Canvas and talk a bit about the parent piece of that, please?
Sure. I don't see the question, so
It says, is there a lot of setting up for parents and students for Canvas?
yeah. So Canvas is actually easier to get into than PowerSchool is. There will be an invitation to get into Canvas to the student, and they'll just have to click on accept invitation, which sends them to the website, which then they log into and set their own password. On our first day of school, when the grade levels are going to be there, so the 9th grade day, the 10th grade day, the 11th grade day, they will have a session during that day where they'll learn how to use Canvas and kind of be shown some of the features of it. And that day, hopefully they will come with their paperwork and their insurance payment for their computer so they can get their computer that day, hint, hint. And on that day, they'll learn how to set up Canvas. Parents will also get a similar invite where essentially they will just log into the Canvas website, set up their own their own password, and they'll be in. And Canvas for parents will have more to see than PowerSchool. For those of you who've been on PowerSchool, you could look on PowerSchool, you could see the student grades, you could see if the teachers had put in assignments ahead of time, what the assignments were going to be. Canvas, there will be more that will be visible there. For the assignments that are in Canvas, you'll be able to see more about the assignment. If the assignment itself is right in Canvas with worksheets, you'll be able to see those worksheets. So there's not a whole lot the parents have to do to set up Canvas. It will take, 20 or 30 minutes of sort of wandering around Canvas to notice what's there. You can see the calendar, and on the calendar you can see all the due dates for student assignments coming up. So that's one of the things that will be more easily accessible in Canvas. In PowerSchool, you had to look at each class, you had to look in the class to see what assignments might have been assigned already. In Canvas, there's a little calendar feature like a Google Calendar. And so you can go to the calendar and see all sorts of little tick marks under Friday and say, yes, indeed, Julie, you do have a lot of things due on Friday. And in Canvas too, they have this automatic strike through when the student has finished it. And so then the student can say, Mom, notice the strike through and all those things due on Friday? That means I've already submitted it. So there's a lot more visibility there that will help you have fascinating conversations with your kids, but it doesn't take much to set it up.
Thank you. There's another question, David, and I do not know the answer. Does the student account need to be set up before the parent account can be set up?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to know, wouldn't it? I think so. I think so. And we're still setting up our teacher accounts. So to be honest, I'm not 100% sure when and how the parent invitations will go out. But there's nothing to see before the first day of school really anyway. So it'll be there in time.
Right. David, and some of our teachers who have a facility in Canvas have been leading trainings with our teachers to get them all up to speed on it. We will do more during our in-service. It is a very powerful educational platform. There's various ones, and they all have their strengths. I think we'll find, and parents, teachers, and students will find Canvas very useful. It's also something that will now become part of the way we do school. So at some point, this pandemic will be behind us, hopefully sooner rather than years hence. But at that point, we will have added a really good educational tool that we'll continue to use. So I'm going to kind of slowly wind this up to give the chance for someone who says, oh, I have a question, to type it in. Again, if you think of it afterwards, please just reach out to me directly. And I promise I'll get you an answer, although I'll also say that it may take a few days because right now there's a lot of things going on, but I will definitely get you an answer. Also, if you join the meeting after it started, you might not have heard me say this has been recorded, and information about that will go out tomorrow. So if you want to come and view the bits that that you missed at the start, you'll be able to get them. So I think I will wind up, and first of all, I want to thank the GSA faculty and staff who joined us today, and I want to give my really sincere thanks and admiration to all the people at the school who've been really working hard all summer long so that we could have a good plan, that we could make this work and getting our campus ready. Also, just want to thank all of you for joining us. Schools work best when parents and the school are in good communication and are working together. And so it's really great that you were able to join us, and thank you for trusting us with your children. It's your most precious, not a possession, but your most precious thing. I don't know, there's some word that I'm not thinking of that's the right word, but you know what I mean. And we take that really, really seriously. Also, there will be, after a couple weeks of classes, we'll have an opportunity, either we'll be in this kind of a format or some other way for parents to give us feedback about how this is going and questions that have come up, et cetera, so that we can keep this going. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing your children, for those of you who are coming, and please reach out at any time if you have any questions or concerns. Thanks so much. Good night, everybody.